Hey there, adventure seekers! We're your passport to epic journeys. From the charming cobblestone streets of Europe to the breathtaking landscapes of the Caribbean and the vibrant cities of the United States, we've explored it all. So buckle up, grab your favorite snack, and let's embark on an unforgettable adventure together. Subscribe now for your daily dose of wanderlust.
Last week, we were soaking up the vibrant energy of Ybor City, Tampa, from delicious Cuban cuisine to the lively nightlife. It was an unforgettable experience, but today we're trading the city streets for the historic exploration of the old fort in St. Augustine. Get ready to discover a hidden gem. Learn about this 300-year-old fort and its amazing history. Before we begin, make sure to like the channel, subscribe, share the channel, and click on that notification bell so you never miss another Kling Connection episode. Now, let's head to the old fort. Hey Kling Connection followers, today we're in St. Augustine, Florida at the Old Spanish Fort. It's a national park here in the state of Florida that is considered the oldest fort in the history of the United States. It was occupied by the Spanish, the British, and the Americans, and at one point, even the Confederacy. We're gonna go in, we have to pay an admission fee, it's about $15, and then we're gonna do some exploration of the fort. So come on, let's go. The gateway to the fort is like stepping back into time. This thing is really amazing. The amount of work and the stone craftsmanship that they have here must have taken a massive amount of labor and skill. From the parapet of the fort, you can see the St. Johns River, and then also the town of St. Augustine itself. Beautiful day here. The exterior walls are very intimidating, and if you can see around the bottom, looks like there was like some sort of a moat or something here that they filled up to prevent any type of invasion. And on top of it is the Spanish flag, and that Spanish flag flies every day of the year except for the 4th of July. Now we are heading into the main gate of the fort. And over here is the moat that I was just talking about. Looks like they were able to fill it up, and it's about 4 foot deep, but enough to trap some people in it if they tried to cross. These appear to be some of the barracks that some of the soldiers probably slept on, and some sort of a cooking area with a meal with a open fireplace on the floor, and then the rifle racks as well as their uniforms. Can you imagine sleeping on these beds next to like 10 other people? It'd be crazy. Now we're heading out to the main square of the fort. I'm assuming this is the middle of the fort. Up there is some of the parapets and some of the artillery pieces, along with barracks and other storage things. Pretty cool. Let's go check out the upstairs parapet where the artillery pieces are and the observation points. A lot of steps here, so make sure if you come here, bring a pair of comfortable walking shoes, because you definitely will need them. Here's an aerial observation of the fort, looking down from the pulpits and the walls into the center. This is an amazing view of the St. John River, and there looks like some sort of observation point in the distance around the artillery pieces. And there's various different artillery pieces up here. Everything from, looks like 16 pounders to mortars to 12 pounders. So they definitely were heavily armed. Here's a close-up of one of the artillery pieces. Boy, this baby's big. And it's facing down in the town. Now, I don't know how far the town came in at one point, but it definitely looks like it probably could be aiming towards the river for some sort of defense. Here's one of the smaller cannons. I think this is probably a 12 pounder. The other one was a 16 pounder. I'm not really good with artillery information, but that's what it kind of looks like. It might even be a 6 pounder. Don't know. If any of you guys out there know, make sure to leave it in the comments section below. Now we're entering one of the gun ports. Boy, this is a tight squeeze. If you're a big guy like me, you have a hard time getting through here, but it looks like this hole was for some sort of defense for like muskets out into the water. But again, this is a really tight fit. These people must have really been small back in the day. Another angle of the fort, looking at it, you can see that there's a lot of swampland. And from what we were told at the visitor center, that if a person was trapped outside the gate at that point, they were stuck in the swampland at night, because they closed the gates at night. So you can kind of see how it's swampland, but just imagine it for hundreds of more miles back 300, 400, 500 years ago. And here is what they call a mortar. Now, a mortar is different than a cannon, because a cannon generally shoots directly, where a mortar shoots up in the air and it launches a projectile that either explodes on somebody or comes down directly on them. And this mortar is absolutely huge. This video does not do it justice. The city of St. Augustine was burned during a 2-month-long siege in 1702 by the British, and the Spanish basically hung out here in the fort to protect themselves from the Spanish, but the whole city was burned and rebuilt. As a matter of fact, this fort here is not the first original fort. The tour person told us it was actually about the 10th fort, because the first 8 or 9 were actually burned to the ground by the British. Looking down into the moat area, you can see where the fort was basically like a 3-tiered defense system. If you can go out to the field, it looks like there was an incline, then a decline slightly, and then a moat system around it. So the defenses of the fort were really set up strategically to stop from any type of land attack from the city of St. Augustine or anybody else that may have landed someplace else here that wanted to attack from land to the fort. Here's a cadre of different cannons. These ones look like the ones that are all around the fort. Smaller cannons to some really huge ones, very ornate. And then also you have your mortars. So this looks like it's probably an example of every type of cannon, or at least a majority of the type of cannons that were at one point here at the fort during its history, either as part of England, part of Spain, part of the United States, or even part of the Confederacy. Let's go into this place and check it out. I don't know if there's any steps or anything in here, but it looks like a watchtower. Somebody to watch the harbor. Oh, okay. Well, maybe there was like a ladder or something here back in the day, but it's very secluded now. Like, you can't get here to check it out. Maybe they put this stuff here for birds so they don't nest. But we'll back out. And again, there's the St. Johns River. Exterior of the wall towards the outside of the ocean to prevent from any type of naval invasion. And then here's the fort. Here's a gentleman dressed up like a period sentry or soldier that was stationed here at the fort in the period garb, watching the harbor.
So up here on the top of the fort, we're here with one of the park rangers. Your name is?
My name's Jill.
Hi, Jill.
And I've been a ranger here for a little over 16 years.
Great. Okay, so Jill's going to tell us a little bit about the fort here, and then I'm going to ask her a couple questions. So tell us a little bit about this fort and how it all came to be.
So Castillo de San Marcos is the oldest masonry fortification in the continental United States.
Okay.
It's one of only 2 fortifications in the entire world made out of this coquina stone. The other one being Fort Matanzas, which is kind of the other half of our park. It's about 15 miles to the south.
Okay.
It is a Spanish colonial fortification. There's nothing else like it in the United States, which would be why it's part of the National Park System.
Okay.
The stone it's made out of, like I said, is called coquina. It is seashells that have been compressed together underground for hundreds of thousands of years.
Real rough on your fingers.
Yep.
You can feel it.
It forms into a stone, and it's a very porous stone. So it's very vulnerable to water damage, plant damage, and people damage. But on the flip side, if you have a really, really thick wall of it, like we do here, and you fire a cannonball into that thick wall, instead of shattering, it compresses like styrofoam.
Ah.
So the cannonballs just punch in a foot and a half and stick there, rather than having the walls shatter like they might if they were made of brick or granite.
Got it.
So it's a really cool material. It's used, you only find it on the east coast of Florida. It was used mostly for government construction in St. Augustine, like the forts and the governor's house, but there were some homes built out of it in the town as well.
Great.
And it has helped the fort stand up for a little over 350 years now.
Beautiful.
Construction started in 1672, so parts of it are 350 years old.
That's what I was going to ask you next about. How long did it take from start to finish when they were building it?
So first phase of construction is 23 years.
23. Okay.
So 1672 to 95, but at the time it would have looked totally different. The rooms were about half the size they are now, so picture this gun deck being only about half the depth. So
Okay.
the center courtyard was much larger, because this is where the whole town would come for safety if the city was under attack.
Okay.
Now,
So they needed more space on the inside for the people.
yes, because the
Interesting.
rooms were full of the supplies they needed.
Okay.
Food, gunpowder, ammunition, military equipment, everything you need to get through about a 2-month siege.
Okay.
Because the closest place to get help is Cuba.
Ooh, okay.
And yeah, depending on the weather, they figured about 2 months for someone to get down there, get help, and get back.
And get back.
So the rooms are stockpiled full of supplies, so you can't have the people stay in the rooms, so they would be camping out in the courtyard.
Okay.
Later, in the early 1700s, the Spanish build a wall around all of St. Augustine. So once the entire city is fortified, then they remodel the fort, make the rooms larger to store more supplies to outlast longer attacks. That shrinks the courtyard, but because the whole town is now fortified, this is no longer the only safe place.
Got it.
So they didn't need the large campground in the middle, basically.
For the people.
So
So the
that's
city
about-
was more safe from the outside. They didn't need quite as much space from the inside of the fort.
Right.
Okay.
And that's maybe another 6 or 7 years worth of work in the mid 1700s. So all told, it takes around 30 years to build in a few different phases.
Mhm.
And anyone who has ever owned it has done their own round of improvements, modifications, repairs. It's basically been a never-ending construction project since 1672.
So it's changed a little
Yeah.
bit as time has gone on. Well, it's absolutely stunning from here. I mean, the view is gorgeous, and we've given us great information, and we're having a wonderful time visiting. So
glad to
thank
hear
you
it.
again so much,
You're
Jill.
welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, enjoy.
Cannon and balls, weapons at the Castillo. The outside of the fort was the area for surplus, and there are different types of supplies. So they had their cannonballs and their cannons and... Oh,
Looks like there's a
so-
tunnel.
Yes. This is the powder room. They would keep the, the explosive powder here. And it looks like it's pretty fortified with extreme, thickness of the walls. And there's, you can see here, there's a little tunnel. This is the King's Coffer Treasury Room here, where they would keep their pay chests and important documents, valuables.
Empty as the U.S. Treasury.
Empty as the U.S. Treasury, Sean says. Yes, well, some things,
I guess don't change.
what do you say?
Did you ever hear the expression that these walls will talk?
Yeah, tell us about them.
Have you been in the guard rooms? In there, you saw the ship's carvings,
Yeah.
and then there's another room over there which you can't get into, but there's a charcoal drawing of a ship on the wall.
Okay.
And then there's the next room over here. You have drawings. This one here is in the left-hand corner.
Okay.
That is the Sundance drawing by the Plains Indians.
Wow.
And then on the other side of that room, on the other wall, is this one here. And this is the Apache drawing of the fire dance.
Okay.
I always thought this was a cross, but it's just two sticks they use in the dance.
Mm.
So you have the Plains Indians, Apache Indians, the Spanish, and the British actually had a drawing in that room as well.
So it shows they were all here.
This room, you've got carvings by some of the soldiers in the 1800s that were bored to tears because not much happened here. So watching for the natives that were here. So it kind of tells you the story all the way through just by looking at what's on the wall.
Interesting. Yes, they've all been here. Wonderful.
And I got a question for you.
The Castillo de San Marcos fort that we just visited has so much to offer. You've got to come see it if you're here visiting. The National Park Service does an incredible job. The park rangers have great information, and there's so much history. We had a great time going around and visiting, and the views of the water, I mean, just breathtaking. If you get a chance, come and see it. I hope you enjoyed the video today. And if you have any other information or some comments about our videos and something you'd like to see, leave us a comment and subscribe today to the Kling Connection. We'll see you next time.